Good morning, TikTok. It's Chumahan Bowen, your friendly neighborhood American, Indian, and lawyer. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about celebrities' favorite water, Fiji. An interesting thing to note about Fiji water is that it's taken from a country that's built out of a series of volcanic islands that's called Fiji. And originally, some think, or at least a lot of the discussion has been that the name Fiji, right, came through by neighbor islanders, the Tongans. Some of you might know what Tonga is and who Tongas are, where they referred to it as, I think, Fisi, Fisi. Eventually, it was anglicized or whitewashed or mispronounced, however you want to say it, to Fiji. But that didn't stop Fiji from trademarking the name for its business. Imagine that. Now, besides turning a country's name into a trademarked business product name, right? Fiji also kind of led the way in sort of this push to pretty much throw tap water and other waters under the bus. And one of the ways they attacked the perception, the civic perception of a person's perception of tap water was to just immediately start basically roasting Cleveland. And they had this whole ad saying that at least it's not bottled in Cleveland. And, you know, I guess you can kind of understand the idea. Right? I mean, Cleveland's easy to dunk on. It's easy to beat up on, right? They had that river that was set on fire and chemicals in the water. And of course, let's not forget that Cleveland is a city that became synonymous with a disgusting sex act known as the Cleveland Steamer. And in case you're wondering, right, what that is, you will only have to do one Google search to find out what the Cleveland Steamer is. And as a side note, there's actually a piece of machinery that is a steamer, and it's made by a company called Cleveland. So while there is this disgusting thing that's hilarious called the Cleveland Steamer, there's also a piece of equipment called the Cleveland Steamer. That's a side note. But as this article points out, it turns out that the Cleveland tap water was purer than the Fiji water. They had less arsenic and chemicals in Cleveland tap water than they did in the Fiji bottled water. Somebody should call and tell Mary J. Blige the truth. I'm talking about Mary J. Blige because they're on TMZ, I think it is, or the Smoking Gun, I think. Mary J. Blige's writer, right? All she wants to drink is Fiji water. So perhaps she may be suffering from arsenic poisoning. Another thing that's interesting to note is that Fiji was originally started, right? The Fiji water was originally started by a hotelier, a guy who built hotels. I think there was something called the South Pacific Hotels. A wealthy billionaire Caucasian dude out of Canada, I believe. And then eventually it was purchased by, and let me make sure I get this name right, the Resnicks. Now, the Resnicks own Palm Wonderful, I think it is, that pomegranate drink. They also own Halo mandarin oranges, and probably one of the biggest quote-unquote nut tree farmers in California, and they live in California. So there's that. In irony and ironies, and everybody who thinks colonization is over, you should go to NPR, look up NPR. There's an interview done where it turns out that actual people who live in Fiji don't have access to clean or safe water, while Fiji, the American corporation, is destroying the environment with diesel-fueled oil tankers that are pulling all that water out, running generators 24/7 that run on diesel to pump the water out in order to get this environmentally sustainable water to wealthy, out of their mind people in Southern California. So think about that. Which leads me back to tap water. Now, I haven't done enough research yet. My friend Big Lux, right? Big Lux says he's been hearing a lot about water, and he's been hearing a lot about bottled water, and he even sent me some little short video about a guy who went to Italy, felt great, came back to America, and felt terrible, and he thinks it's got to be the water. Of course, anyone who's on vacation is having a better time than when they come back to the regular slog. Why he focuses on water? Not the food, not the culture, not the fact that this is where he's from, and he had to return to his cares. I don't know, but he's pointing at water. And let me say something. I don't know that European water is any better than American water. Don't forget, World War II, all the ordnance and chemicals and blasts and whatever you want to call it, that all happened in Europe, not here. And I'll even do you one better. The European Union, right, is fairly new. So all the individual countries or whatever, they were in charge of making sure they had good groundwater to clean. And I'm almost willing to bet $1,000 that when the Soviet Union had half of Europe under its dominion, I don't know that they were following any procedures to keep the water clean. I don't know that under Franco, Italy's water was any cleaner. And so, what am I here to say? I'm not necessarily saying that tap water is better than bottled water, but I am going to say that right now I'm starting to actually wonder if bottled water is actually a better alternative than tap water. I started reading a book about, I think, the sale of bottled water, and what I'm finding out is that for 40 years there has been marketing campaigns pushing to undermine the public's trust in tap water, mainly so they can make money. And a lot of the same people that own huge freshwater reserves to sell to the rest of the world are completely against the idea that water is a human right, that we shouldn't be charged for clean water. Haven't even gotten to the part about bottles, plastics, and all that other stuff. And with plastic and bottles and water and oil, you can see there's a marriage there between the synthetics and this water. The Carlyle Group, which, right, Bush Sr. and the Bush family heavily invested in, they're one of the ones that bought, I believe in Central America, one of the largest freshwater reservoirs there are. Why do you think they did that? Because they know we're going to try to figure out how to screw up the world's water reserves, and then they can charge a premium for something like water, which used to be free. Now I'm going to take a look at all the various tap water around the world and see, wait a second, if the tap water in Cleveland, Ohio is purer than Fiji water, then what about the rest of the tap water? Maybe all this stuff about the fluoride and all these other kinds of things are inaccurate and really just aimed at helping these beverage companies like the evil Dasani. I don't know that they're evil, but Dasani, Blue, and the fact that they've occupied nearly every space at public events makes me think they might be. Plus, they're owned by Coca-Cola. And, well, enough said.